In this series, I'm going to be doing a few episodes on how to make use of the leftover fabric. The first episode I'll be talking about is how to use this leftover fabric to make bias tape. What is bias tape? Bias tape are long strips of fabric used to bind or trim the ends of your fabric wares. This can be in the form of apron or a dress or sleeves. In the shops, they come either as single or double fold. They can be bought from the shop in different colors and sizes. The most popular size is the 1/2 inch. Certain prints can be difficult to get in the shop and sometimes the colors can be boring. So the advantages of making them yourself is that you can choose your own color and print. The next stage is the cutting of the strips. Most fabrics are made up of the salvage edge. This is where you have the manufacturer's print and you also have the straight cut edge which the material is cut with. These two sides have little or no stretch, but the diagonal side has got more stretch. And this is where we want to be cutting our strips from. In order to do this, we tend to fold it into a triangular form and cut out a triangle. Once you cut out your triangle, then you can now cut out your strips. They can be in any size. I'm cutting out 2 inches strips. And here with a different material, I'm cutting out 1.5 inch strips. The next stage is the making of the bias tape. This can be made by hand or using a bias tape maker. When you're making it by hand, you take your strip and fold them into 2 equal parts to make a center fold line and press it down with a steam iron. You open it up take each side to the center and press down, and there you've got yourself a single fold bias. If you want a double fold bias tape, then you can fold this into 2 equal parts and press it down with the steam iron. The bias tape maker comes in different sizes, and you will need to cut your fabric accordingly to fit. For the size 2.5 centimeter, I think that's the biggest size, you cut your fabric 2 inches and you end up with a 1 inch single fold or a 1/2 inch double fold bias. If I'm going to use this size, which is the 3rd size, smallest size, then I'll have to cut my fabric 1 inch and I will end up with a 1/2 inch single fold and a 1/4 inch double fold bias. When using the bias tape maker, you place one of the corners of the fabric in with the wrong side facing upwards and pull through. If it's difficult to get it through, you can always use a long pin. As you pull the fabric through the bias maker, you press it down with the steam iron. You can also use the metal handle to pull it through. Most bias tape are made up of long strips of fabric. This can be achieved by sewing several strips together. To do this, you bring the right sides together in form of a right angle and stitch together from one corner of one edge to the other corner. It's always advisable to leave a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but you can leave more, and then you will get a straight continuous strip of fabric. Once you finish sewing, you can then snip off the corners. After sewing, I trim off the seam allowance. I open it up and press to flatten it out. And I'm now using the biggest size of the bias maker to make my bias tape.